Hi everyone, I'm Golda Rademacher and I'm the Library Sales and Marketing Director for Norton. Since I can't show you books in person at ALA this summer, I'm creating these Book Buzz videos. This one is all about our recent fiction and poetry, and I have separate videos for nonfiction and for kids and teen books. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at WW Library. We have a lot of digital review copies on Edelweiss and NetGalley. I'm putting links to our newsletter sign up and to our catalogs and resources in the description for the video, and you're welcome to email me if you have any questions. I hope you're all doing as well as you can be, and thank you for taking the time to listen to me talk about books. Library Reads is a nationwide staff picks list that is selected by public library staff each month. Anyone who works for a public library can vote for titles, and their recommended book might make it onto the monthly list. You vote in advance, so for example, the votes for books that are being published in September are due by August 1st. Library Reads has full explanations and instructions on their website at libraryreads.org. Another new place to find out about new and forthcoming books is on the Alma Book Buzz channel. A group of publishers teamed up to produce a series of videos. Each video has 3 or 4 different publishers talking about one book each, so they're not too long and you get a lot of variety. We will have videos posted each Tuesday through July, and then we'll take a break. And now for the books. I'm starting with Norton and our imprint Liveright. I had a really hard time narrowing down the list of titles to present, so I urge you to check out our full catalogs on Edelweiss, which I will link to in the description. The Taste of Sugar by Marisol Vera is a sweeping family story set in Puerto Rico and Hawaii. When the Spanish-American War and the Great Hurricane of 1899 bring devastating upheaval, a young couple is lured, along with thousands of other Puerto Ricans, to the sugar plantations of Hawaii, where they are confronted by the hollowness of America's promises of prosperity. Marisol Vera's The Taste of Sugar is a moving novel of love and endurance, and a timeless portrait of the reasons we leave home. Kirkus called it a sweeping, emotional tale that puts her characters and her readers through an emotional wringer. When the Light of the World Was Subdued, Our Songs Came Through is a new anthology of Native Nations poetry edited by our current Poet Laureate, Joy Harjo. The book includes 164 poets representing 91 nations. It is arranged by region, and there's an introduction to each section by a poet from that region. This is an essential addition to any poetry collection, but don't just take my word for it. The starred review from Booklist says, if there's one poetry anthology that belongs on every bookshelf in this country called America, it's this one. Joy Harjo has accepted the term of Poet Laureate for a second year, so you will continue to hear from her, including an NPR All Things Considered interview that is scheduled for the end of August. If I Had Two Wings is a short story collection that is being published on August 4th. Randall Keenan has published several nonfiction titles in the past 28 years, but this is his first book of fiction since Let the Dead Bury the Dead, which was nominated for the Los Angeles Times Book Prize, was a finalist for the National Book Critics Circle Award, and was a New York Times notable book in 1992. I like short story collections because you can read a whole story even if you don't have a lot of time. Also, short stories let the author play around with style, genre, and a variety of characters. Just some of the characters that you meet in If I Had Two Wings are a North Carolina plumber who happens to end up befriending Billy Idol while tagging along on his wife's church trip to New York City. And this story actually made me miss Manhattan a little bit. Then there's a sophisticated gay Black writer who finds his old Victorian home haunted by a ghostly underground railroad. And a little girl in a camp encounters a river spirit who tosses her an enormous catfish, which is what inspired the cover. Most of these stories are set in North Carolina, where Randall Keenan lives. Ruthie Fear by Maxim Loskotov. This is a contemporary novel set in Bitterroot Valley, Montana. Raised in a trailer by her stubborn bow-hunting father, Ruthie develops a powerful connection with the natural world, but struggles to find her place in a society shaped by men. Development, gun violence, and her father's vendettas threaten her mountain home. As she comes of age, her small community begins to fracture in the face of class tension and encroaching natural disaster, and the creature she saw long ago reappears as a portent of the valley's final reckoning. Anchored by its unforgettable heroine, Ruthie Fear presents the rural West as a place balanced on a knife edge, at war with itself, but still unbearably beautiful and full of love. Author Paul Yoon calls the book a ferocious, unsettling, raging storm of a novel that captures not only a place of hauntings and heartbreaks, but also a world on the precipice. Adrian Geffel is David Haydew's first novel. He's best known for his nonfiction book, Positively 4th Street. This is the oral history of a fictional avant-garde musician of the late 70s and early 80s, told in the form of interview segments by her family, friends, critics, and often unwanted hangers-on. The characters spring vividly to life, even in brief interviews that might be only a page long. And a lot of real people from the music and art scene at that time show up in the narrative. There's quite a bit of humor and a skewering of the art and music world that David knows so well. The Blind Light by Stuart Evers is a big, sprawling novel focusing on one British family through the decades of the Cold War, almost all the way to the present day. It's big, it's ambitious, and well executed. The connection between these two families is intense, which keeps the pages turning in both anticipation and dread. The writing is honest and heartbreaking in its portrayal of familial love. Jim Crace gave us a blurb. He called it a page-perfect and impeccably structured portrait of Britain's troubled post-nuclear generations and the pressures which have both tugged them apart and cemented them together. Stuart Evers has written a powerful and affecting novel, which excels at being as true to family and the personal as it is to nation and the universal, a rare and potent combination. Now I would like to tell you about new books from the publishers that Norton distributes. They are all independent, we just do their sales and distribution. First up is Tin House, which is based in Portland, Oregon. Vera Kelly is Not a Mystery is the second book in the Vera Kelly series. When Vera loses her girlfriend and her job, she uses her past CIA experience to set herself up as a private detective. She takes a case that dredges up dark memories and attracts dangerous characters from across the Cold War landscape. Before it's over, she'll chase a lost child through foster care and follow a trail of Dominican exiles to the Caribbean. Unlike many of your favorite fictional detectives, she has a complicated personal life. In this exciting installment of the Vera Kelly series, Rosalie Connect challenges and deepens the Vera we love, a woman of sparkling wit, deep moral fiber, and martini dry humor who knows how to follow a case even as she struggles to follow her heart. A Girl is a Body of Water is coming in September. Jennifer Makumbi incorporates Ugandan folktales into this coming-of-age story of Karabo, who desperately wants to know what happened to her mother. She also learns about the story of the first woman, an independent original state that has been all but lost to women, but still exists inside Karabo. Her journey to reconcile her rebellious origins, alongside her desire to reconnect with her mother and to honor her family's expectations, is rich in the folklore of Uganda and an arresting exploration of what it means to be a modern girl in a world that seems determined to silence women. Rebecca Vinuk, the director of Library Reads, interviewed Jennifer as part of our virtual Book Expo author events, and they had a fascinating conversation. And I'll link to the video in the description so that you can watch it. Bright and Dangerous Objects by Annalise McIntosh. Commercial deep-sea diver Solveig has a secret. She wants to be one of the first human beings to colonize Mars, and she's one of 100 people shortlisted by the Mars Project to do just that. But to fulfill her ambition, she'll have to leave behind everything she's ever known for the rest of her life. As the prospect of heading to space becomes more real, 37-year-old Solveig is forced to define who she really is. Will she come clean to James, her partner, about her plans? Or will she turn her back on the project and commit her to her life on Earth and a baby with James? This book looks at the choices a woman has to make between her dreams and obligation, and what happens when a person has conflicting dreams or goals. The Butcher's Blessing is a novel set in Ireland about families and farmers, about mythic rituals and mad cows, about the stories we leave behind and the ones we cling to no matter the cost. The story moves between 1996 and the present, offering a simmering glimpse into the modern tensions that surround 8 fabled men called the Butchers, a group that roams from farm to farm, enacting ancient methods of cattle slaughter. There's also a mystery. The photographer Ronan captures this world, image by image, but what led to his most striking photo? A single butcher hung upside down in a pose of unspeakable violence. Colin McCann said, Gilligan braids beauty and brutality together in a seamless literary thriller, with plot twists worthy of Tana French and language reminiscent of Taya Obret. This young Irish writer has crafted a story that is dark, wild, mythic, unsuspecting, and absolutely riveting. Tin House has a really strong poetry list, which continues this fall with Resistencia, poems of protest and revolution. The poets of Resistencia bring feminist, queer, indigenous, urban, and ecological themes to the fore, alongside historically prominent protests against imperialism, dictatorships, and economic inequality. Within this momentous collection, poets representing every Latin American country grapple with identity, place, and belonging, resisting easy definitions to render a nuanced and complex portrait of language in rebellion. And each poem is presented in its original language alongside an English translation. Negotiations is a debut collection of poetry from Destiny O. Birdsong about what it means to live in this America, about Cardi B and autoimmune disease. It's a series of love letters to Black women who are often singled out for abuse and assault, silencing and tokenism, fetishization and cultural appropriation in ways that throw the rock, then hide the hand. Birdsong grapples with America's past and present, asking what it means to be a Black woman living here and now. This collection explores hurt and pain, want and desire, but also strength, beauty, resolve, and the ways we survive. Welcome, Scarlet. Norton distributes Penzler Publishing's American Mystery Classic series, and now we're excited to add on their new imprint, Scarlet. These are all contemporary thrillers, mainly starring women. The editor of the new imprint is Louisa Smith from Book Passage Bookstore, and there are digital reading copies of all of these on Edelweiss now. We're starting to get good feedback, and I look forward to hearing more from you when you have a chance to read them. The American Mystery Classics is a line of newly reissued mystery and detective fiction from the years between the First and Second World Wars, also known as the genre's golden age. And there's a new Perry Mason TV series coming to HBO, but you can read 2 of the original novels by Earl Stanley Gardner in the American Mystery Classic series. I'm looking forward to reading Vultures in the Sky by Todd Downing, who was a member of the Choctaw Nation. New Directions is dedicated to experimental literature, influential foreign works in translation, and avant-garde poetry. Their books have won many awards, including the most recent National Book Award for Literature in Translation. Fantagraphics Books has been publishing comics and graphic novels since 1976. They're working on their own Book Buzz videos that I will share as soon as they're ready, so you'll be able to hear directly from them. I would also suggest signing up for their YouTube channel so you'll be notified when the new videos are posted. But I do want to point out one of their lead titles here. In July, Fantagraphics is publishing The Cloven, which is the first graphic novel by Garth Stein, who wrote The Art of Racing in the Rain. The art is by Matthew Southworth, who was the co-creator of Stumptown. This is the first book in a 3-book series, and Garth Stein was a panelist at the Library Journal Day of Dialogue. You can still watch those archived videos until the end of August in case you missed it. Garth Stein and Matthew Southworth are working to put together some virtual events this summer, so keep an eye out for that. Persea publishes fiction, poetry, and essays, as well as revived classics, translations, and multicultural anthologies for the general and educational markets. And Pushcart Press publishes the winners of the Pushcart Prize in their anthology every year, along with books of fiction, poetry, memoir, and essays. Norton has kids' books. Yes, we started a Norton Young Readers imprint last year, and we also distribute kids' books from Tilbury House, Thames and Hudson, Abbeville, and some of our other clients. I mentioned at the beginning that I did a separate Book Buzz video talking about books for children and teens. So this is another reminder to check that out, or please share it with your youth services colleagues. So that was a lot of books, but I didn't even cover all of our titles. So I'm putting links to our catalogs and to my other Book Buzz videos in the notes so you can see more information about each title. And again, we have digital review copies available to request for librarians, booksellers, and teachers at Edelweiss and NetGalley. And you're welcome to email me if you have any questions. Thank you again for listening. And I also want to say a sincere thank you for all of the work that you have been doing while the physical spaces have been closed. I've seen you ramping up your virtual events and figuring out new services for your library users. It's been really amazing to see the creativity and hard work, and we appreciate you so much. Thank you again for listening, and goodbye for now.